3 years ago, I was living in an apartment in the city, 115 square meters, completely oversized for 2 people. So when I wanted to become a homeowner and live in a house, it was a huge life decision. To tell myself that no, this time I would rather go for a minimalist project with materials that are respectful, or at least more respectful, of the environment. Eventually, I searched on the internet and found prefabricated wooden houses. You have a semi-trailer that arrives, so you help unload everything. Your house is completely prefabricated in advance, the windows and doors, the insulation, everything is waiting at the construction site. And then we're off for 10 days of construction work. This project for 45 square meters only cost me 45,000 euros for a house assembled in 10 days built to RE 2020 standards. It's unbeatable. So here we have 3 young children, and I've never once heard anyone say that their place was too small. Their rooms, I have my 2 older girls together, but still they say that each of them has her own room in there. It's really funny. So no, at no point did they actually feel cramped, but mainly it's just that you only have to open a door and you have 4,000 square meters. And so you always see them playing outside and enjoying nature, which is really what I wanted, the best for your children. Music. Welcome to my little house, my little cabin, my little cocoon. And yes, it seems like a small space, but in the end, once everything is well organized, you really feel great in here. So here we have 22 square meters, that's it, divided up. So here we have the whole kitchen area and, well, we've really minimized as much as possible. Even though it's a small house, we need a lot of storage. The goal is not to have too much, but for it to still be well organized. I'm actually pretty used to small spaces. There are 5 of us living here, 2 adults and 3 children. And so in the end, we have these different storage spaces where we keep clothes by the entrance and miscellaneous extra items. So that would be things like pool gear, slippers, dish towels, and so on. And then on the other side, that's more for food-related items. That will be a space for pots and pans, and as you can see, there are quite a few pots and pans. Actually, in any case, you can always save space in a kitchen and in a tiny house because in the end, everything counts. You have the height under the ceiling where you can add storage. You can use the full length of the cabinets and walls. And so in the end, if you really use every corner, sometimes the thing we notice is when we visit people, there's just a tiny piece of furniture in a huge space. And actually, you have this thing where you think you could fill all that, bring everything together in one place so you have space to move around. Because here, in the end, you have your kids who want to play. They can clear everything out and put things everywhere. So it's a real mess to clean up again. In the end, you still have plenty of space, and it gets tidied up quickly because everything is well organized, sorted, and thoughtfully arranged so you can find everything easily. Under the stairs, we also have storage that's hidden by the sofa, which is very light. We just have to move it. The kids do it themselves too. So we wanted it to be as practical as possible. And right here, we also have a 2.5 square meter area for the bathroom. So in the end, it's also something very organized. A shower, a 40 by 40 sinker toilet, various storage spaces that are only for the bathroom. That would be towels, cleaning supplies. And then here actually around the sink, everything for makeup, hairstyling, scrunchies, hair donuts, all that. So the tour can be pretty quick. Yes, it's quite small, but in the end, every space is optimized. We don't step on each other at all. The dog, it's the same, he doesn't step on us. Actually, we even got a small dog. Everything is minimalist here. So here we have the living area, and in the end, this is more like the resting areas. So these are the bedrooms. We have the girls' bedroom and the master bedroom, and then in the middle we have a small hallway. So just to remind you, we have 9.5 square meters on one side and 8.5 on the other. So that gives us a small base of 25 square meters in the end for the bedrooms. So that's more than enough for us because we realize that in a house mainly we're there to eat, to have people over, but we're really there to sleep. But apart from that, the goal of this project was really to go outside and enjoy this big piece of land. So we've just visited the house, and now we're going to check out the whole energy system, because in the end I decided not to be connected to the grid, to be as self-sufficient as possible. So here we are in front of the utility room. Just a little background. The house was delivered as a kit on pallets, and so I chose to reuse those pallets. So let's say about 70% of this shelter was built with reused materials. So we have 4 solar panels that will produce 1,200 peak watts. And in the end, that's more than enough for my self-sufficiency. So these 1,200 watts of panels, I connected them to EcoFlow batteries, which are inside the utility shed. So we gave names to pretty much everything we created so that each entity is really a bit independent from the others. So here we have the house, the utility room. This is where we're really going to centralize all the energy, because in the end, I don't just want to stick with solar. Right now, at least 100% of our electrical energy is produced by solar power. We've never been connected to the grid and have been self-sufficient for 3 years. Honestly, 1,200 W is enough for this building. It's true that I have other projects, so we're going to expand the area covered by the solar panels, and that's it. Now we're in March, for example. We know we'll be fine until early December. December and January are critical months. You actually need to increase the solar capacity during those times, or even try other energy sources, because in December and January there can be 5 consecutive days of rain, bad weather and grey skies. It's not necessarily that you need sunshine. Actually, what you really need is brightness. So if there are clouds and so on, it's not a problem. We'll still produce. But actually, since we have a maximum production rate of 1,200, now we're going to go up to 2,600 in the end. We know that during off-peak periods we need to reach, we've calculated it, we need to have about 700 W of constant production if we want to be completely at ease and not have to worry in winter. So for the 2 rather complicated months, namely December and January, to have a backup solution we can actually have a generator. So here it's an EcoFlow model that works with 2 types of energy. So we have gasoline or gas. I think it's one of the only products offered on the market, so EcoFlow makes it. So at the very least, but in any case 80% to 90% of the time we are completely autonomous, and it's really just to have a little boost, a safety measure. So now we're going inside. The utility room looks like a laundry room, but it's also where I centralize my energy systems. And here we have our big batteries. So this is the Delta 3 Pro Max. We can't keep track of all these names anymore, but it works very well and has a large capacity. I invested in this one last year because in the end it accepts 2,600 watts of solar input, which is definitely welcome, because really the goal is to stop using the generator. I really want to be 100% self-sufficient with solar energy and even try other things in the future. So there you go. In any case, I'm really happy with it. They're parked here. Here's a little workspace finally for doing the laundry. And yes, you can be self-sufficient and still have a washing machine, no problem. You just need to look at the energy label, the technical sheet simply for our machine. Here, the maximum it can draw is 700 watts. It's just like an induction cooktop or an oven. In the end, it's really only at certain times, so we're not dealing with huge consumption. Right above, there's another EcoFlow product, but in the end, I'm really very satisfied with it. We wanted something that complements the fridge. You should know that the biggest consumption comes from the refrigerator. So I didn't want to integrate it into the house at first, and for going on vacation, we have a converted van. We actually wanted to have this setup to have a fridge and a refrigerator, and well, in the end, the rest of the time, so 99% of the time, it's our refrigerator. And so as a result, we're not kidding. We really do have frozen food, ice cream, and so we can enjoy them all year long, no problem. And finally, the last element that makes up the utility room in the end is the water heater from the very beginning of the project. We actually had an electric water heater that was in the bathroom and it worked really, really well. That's not the issue at all, but actually anything that uses a resistive heating system consumes a lot of energy. We must have been around, I think, 1,700 watts constantly, which completely reduced the battery life. That's why we ended up going with a gas water heater, a tankless water heater. So over the year, we must use about 3 bottles, so it's really not much at all. An initial cost of 32 euros, so in itself, it's not really something very expensive, but there you go, that's the goal. The goal is to increase solar capacity, increase electrical self-sufficiency, to do without gas, and really to become more self-sufficient, and to take something back, an electric model, music. We have 4,000 square meters of land. The house is small, but it's true that it leaves a lot of room for other projects and other outbuildings. So we saw that we had the utility room, and that's the place where I spend the most time. It's the workshop. This one is also actually autonomous. It's independent from the other rooms. So we also have an 800-watt solar power supply, and we also have an EcoFlow battery inside. So this is my little personal den. We have a 3D printer, so I'm going to make tools, decorations, basically to be as self-sufficient as possible. And here, it's the same, so we have a laser engraver, so that's for cutting on any material. It can be wood, glass, tiles too, at least we're much more precise. So in the end, it's kind of essential. All of that is completely self-sufficient. Being autonomous, in the end, means being independent, doing a lot of DIY, so in the end, we also have to equip ourselves. We realized we had to rule out anything corded. That's why we have a huge battery collection and we always use the same tools. Here, it's the Works brand, very happy with it. It works really, really well. But here's the little workshop, a small space just like the house project. But you see, in the end, it's well organized. I can find everything. And on my workbench, it's the same. Everything is organized. Electricity, plumbing. I never lose track of anything. You should know that before, so 3 years ago, I was in an apartment in the city, 115 square meters, far too big for 2 people. And I've always been committed to ecology and to keeping my impact on the environment and the way I live to a minimum. So when I wanted to become a homeowner and live in a house, it was a huge life decision. To tell myself that no, I would rather go for a minimalist project with environmentally friendly materials, or at least materials that are kinder to the environment. So 3 years ago, I finally searched on the internet and found prefabricated wooden houses. So to name them, you can compare Green Cube, Chalet Pro, and there are others. So Chalet Pro offered several options at that time. Either you could actually order directly the kit, but in that case, it's up to you to assemble it entirely yourself. Option 2, Chalet Pro hires professionals to assemble the project. They do the major construction work. And then, in the end, I did the carpentry, the electrical work, and the plumbing myself. That's what I chose to do. And then the third option is really that they take care of everything, the entire project. It's true the prices were very attractive. And what's interesting is that we already have models where you can actually visualize, and the speed of construction is unbeatable because in 10 days your chalet is built. I modified the plans to better suit my needs, moving some partitions. Ultimately, you can act as the project manager. There's a base, but you can truly personalize it. A semi-truck arrives, so you help unload everything. Your house is completely prefabricated in advance. The window and door units, insulation, and everything else are ready at the site. We're set for 10 days of work and construction. The steps of the construction are super simple because first we do the earthwork, then we bring in a mason. Obviously the slab has to be covered by a 10-year warranty, so you can't just do anything. After receiving our kit, we'll assemble the chalet with the professionals. It's fast since everything is prefabricated. So the house itself is really assembled in just 10 days. And then from there, after that, there will be the electricity, the plumbing, the finishing, and finally the interior design. So 1 month after starting the earthworks on this land, I was inside. This project for 45 square meters only cost me 45,000 euros for a house built in 10 days meeting RE 2020 standards. It's unbeatable. Living as a family of 5 in a small 45 square meter house can raise questions. In the end, my partner didn't originally choose to live in this kind of home, whether it's about being self-sufficient or in terms of space. But you should know that, in fact, we have all the traditional comforts. I think it reassures everyone to know that we don't have any electricity bills based on our consumption. Space, in the end, constantly brings us closer. We spend more time together. We embrace real differences. And then I think that even in terms of housework, it's not bad because we have fewer chores to do, less dishwashing, less cleaning. So yeah, I mean, we feel really good at home. So right now we have 3 young children. Honestly, I think that's how we've always felt. The children are very connected to nature and very sensitive to their environment. The space isn't small at all. I've never once had anyone say their place was too small. As for the bedrooms, my 2 older girls share a room. But still, they say that each of them has her own room in there. It's really funny. But in the end, it's still just a bed. The living space is here. And if they want to be alone, all they have to do is go upstairs and they're in their room. So no, at no point did they feel cramped, but mostly you just have to open up and you have 4,000 square meters and outbuildings. So it's true that there's play equipment for the kids. We built a terrace, we have a relaxation area. There's play equipment all over the property actually. So you always see them playing outside and enjoying nature. I truly wanted the best for your children. The initial plan was to have 45 square meters to be minimalist. It's true that 3 children means 3 potential future adults. So, in the end, we have to increase the area. The bedrooms for now are well suited for our use, but we definitely need more comfort, closets, and to adapt. When you're a child, in the end, everything is minimalist too. But I don't have to impose that kind of comfort on them in the end, so that's why we're going to increase the space in the future. We'll add 60 square meters attached to the house. And so, that way, we'll have a living room and 3 additional bedrooms. In the end, I'm going to go with prefabricated again, but it's mainly a matter of time. That one was put up in 10 days. The goal is to complete this project in the same way, so that in fact we can go from 45 square meters to 105 very quickly. And in the end, it's all about speed of execution. Everything is pre-assembled, already cut to size. In the end, we just need to assemble it like a big Lego set. So, in terms of execution, once again, it's unbeatable compared to any type of home construction today. Long live the cabin, man. No, but there are people who say to us, the little cabin over there. But honestly, for all the advantages, whether it's in terms of speed, production, or living inside, when I go into a concrete house, I have no desire to go back to that kind of dwelling.